This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast, and thank you for listening. And of course, anytime you have a comment or a topic you'd like us to discuss, feel free to text me at 773-766-5322. Today's discussion, Work Plunges. So this is absolutely fascinating. WeWork was this sort of privately funded company, venture capital funded company that grew into, the concept of trying to sell a new way of working. At the end of the day, it's sort of workstation, subletting space. It's really a real estate play that people wanted to turn into a technology play and turn into their own WeWork community and so forth. I mean, fascinating founder, Adam Newman of this thing. He's been out for a couple of years now. The company did finally go public, and they had some huge investors. The famous investors, SoftBank from Japan, famous investors from Saudi Arabia, famous investors from the West Coast here in Chicago, in the West Coast here in the United States. And when they went public, they ultimately got to a $50 billion valuation or so. Today, the stock is down 38% today as they talk about the concept of how they might not be able to sustain their business model given the amount of money they've been losing. And they've been losing money for as long as I can remember. But what's fascinating about it as well is when you look at the market capitalization today, the market capitalization today is $104 million, and this is compared to $50 billion at one point. That's a big difference. So it's down almost 98% from its original high to where it is today. There are multiple lessons in this. And the number one lesson is if you're building a business, before you expand in 50 different locations, you ought to figure out profitability at a couple and how this makes sense, how it works, before you end up, and they had some bad luck and all those kinds of things, no question. But before you expand into multiple different locations, take on so much debt, so much funding, you ought to understand, does the core concept work and how does it work and how do you duplicate it, how do you scale it, and so forth and so on. The other thing is Adam Newman, who's the founder of this, he's no longer the CEO, led this with tremendous bravado, tremendous ego. He tends to keep on landing on his feet. He's one of these guys with a tremendous amount of audacity and drive and all these kinds. He keeps on landing on his feet. But what an absolute mess in the big scheme of things. Again, $50 billion in market capitalization down to $100 million. A ton of people lose their money. The stock is down, it is down 40% almost today. Again, the story today is WeWork plunges, and this has been a long time coming. So it's not like it's new news. It's just that they came out with a report saying they may not be sustainable, and able to keep going as a going enterprise. It's just fascinating to watch. In any event, thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. Thank you to our wonderful producer who's got all the patience in the world, Chanel Bunger. Thank you so much. Text me, 773-766-5322. If you have any questions or if we could help in any way, any topic you want us to talk about on the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast, we'd love to do it. Thank you so much.